snow-covered mountains are a home now for me, but my home is the lowlands, and always will be. Someday you'll return to your valleys and your farms, and you'll no longer burn to be brothers in arms. Through these fields of destruction, baptisms of fire, I've witnessed your suffering as the battle reached high, and though it was so bad, in the fear and alarm, you did not desert me, my brothers in arms. There's so many different worlds, so many different suns, and we have just been right, but we live in different ones. Now the sun's gone to hell, the moon's riding high. Let me bid you farewell. Every man has to die, but it's written in the starlight, in every line in your palm. We're fools to make war on our brothers in arms.
Well, I am convinced that neither death nor life, nor angels nor rulers, nor things present nor things to come, nor powers nor height nor depth nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God in Christ Jesus our Lord. Amen. Well, good afternoon, good morning everyone, and on behalf of all the family, thank you so much for coming today. Welcome to Gresham's Chapel. I'm told Gresham's a very happy place for Peter. He really enjoyed his time here, and it's a great pleasure for us to be able to host this memorial service today. We're here, of course, on a difficult day. Each of us are here to show your love and your care for Peter. We bring with us our sorrow and sadness, of course. But today, we have the opportunity, perhaps just for a short while, to hand it over, so we can truly celebrate and give thanks for the fun, the joy, the happiness that Peter brought into the world and into our lives. We're here to remember a remarkable man, a clever, wise, humorous, loving man. We're here to remember a unique person, to recall the life he lived, to express gratitude for the days and years you shared with him. And by remembering the best of Peter today, you will cement that memory of him within you, and that will never leave you. So we're going to begin by singing a hymn together, which is Be Thou My Vision, and the words can be found in your order of service. So please stand as we sing. Well, please do take your seats, everyone, as Carol comes to share our reading with us.
It's with a heavy heart that I stand here this morning, and it's of great comfort to be able to know that I'm not alone in my grief. Today we carry this sorrow together as family, as friends, and as a collected international community who loved Pete deeply. Thank you to each one of you who have made such a great effort to be with us today. We really appreciate it. Our last family reunion was in February this year. Nigel and Lisa kindly arranged a large house in Holt for 2 weeks. Mike, Nigel, Lisa, Pete and myself were fortunate to share this space together so we could visit Mum. When I look back at this time, there were some signs then that Pete was having health issues. He arrived with a fractured shoulder caused by tripping and falling on his arrival in London. But his determination and self-discipline did not let these things deter him from his routine morning exercise at the local gym. Apart from that inconvenience, we had so many precious moments together, playing cards, listening to music, Pete suggesting the latest action movie, which just happened to be The Day of the Jackal. It was simple family life, yet it was so rich with laughter and love. One particular moment I captured on video was when we had gathered in the kitchen while Mike prepared his famous butter chicken. Pete was snacking on his carrot and celery sticks, while he and Nige debated why the chimney kept on smoking. I have replayed this video clip so many times, as it was my last visual link of Pete. He looked so normal, so young, and very much alive. Little did we know of the events that were waiting behind the scenes to unfold. This was going to be our last time we would all be together. His passing on the 20th of June was sudden and unexpected. In the days following, whenever I've spoken about him, 2 words have come up again and again: devastated and shocked. Even his admission into hospital and our following phone conversations did not prepare us to say goodbye. When a life ends without warning, it's very natural to revisit moments that seemed routine. The last words spoken, the last shared conversation. They all take on a weight that wasn't visible while they were happening. They become markers, past memories replayed again and again, because they can never be replaced. In the face of sudden death, it has been a reminder to me that it's so easy to think we have months and years ahead of us. But the truth is, none of us know when time in this life has run out. Time is not guaranteed to any of us. The very fact that it can never end, that it can end without warning, urges us to live life intentionally. And this was something that Pete was so skilled at doing. Amongst his world travels, he would never miss the opportunity of connecting with family and friends. Despite time differences, he would phone regularly, and better still would travel courtesy of his air miles to meet up personally. One visit in particular stands out to me was the time he visited me when I worked in a drug rehab. He made him so comfortable in the sitting room, chatting to all the residents, wanting to know their stories and how they had landed up in an addiction unit. In no time at all, he had connected to each one of them and was completely comfortable in that setting. It wasn't grand gestures that defined him, but the quiet, attentive way he made people feel valued by accepting them without judgment. This was just one example of how Pete touched a variety of people in many different circles: family, friends, and colleagues. He was my little brother, and I loved him very much. Each of us is left with memories that are uniquely our own, yet they are woven together. They reveal the kind of man he truly was. His loyalty, self-discipline, and determination all were his hallmarks. He was never one to boast, although his professional achievements were extensive. My first glimpse of his political genius took place in Washington, D.C. when I went to stay with him and Tasha after 9/11. Pete told me he was going to give a lecture on mass weapons of destruction, and I asked for an invite to the event. That afternoon, he addressed a room of men twice his age who were weary from a long day of lectures. Pete's slot was late afternoon. As he stood up to speak, I had the privilege of witnessing that sleepy room become awake and alert. At the end of his talk, he was surrounded by attendees wanting to talk further with him. He had that gift, not to command attention with noise, but with substance. I was really proud of him. His unexpected death has been a reminder of what truly matters and what does not. Petty concerns that are not life-threatening have begun to shrink. It's been a reminder that the gift of tomorrow is not guaranteed. Today is all that I know, and it makes me want to be aware of all the good things that happen as the day unfolds, to take nothing for granted, and to be mindful of the importance of gratitude. For every loss, there is the opportunity for those who remain to partake more fully in the circle of life. With every ending, there is also a new beginning. We turn now to the words of wisdom from Ecclesiastes about the appointed times of life and the seasons God has set under heaven. A time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to search and a time to give up. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to mend. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. So today, even as we mourn, let us also give thanks for Pete's unique life, for the memories that will live forever for us, and for the final reminder that time, however short, can still be full of meaning. May his memory be a blessing, and may we find comfort in knowing that though he is no longer with us, the love he gave continues on through and among us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carol, for those beautiful words and that beautiful message at the end as well. So we're going to hear some more tributes now from Nigel and Tasha.
Thank you. It's both an honour and a privilege to give a tribute to my late younger brother Pete, but it'll also be hard as we're very close, so please bear with me as I make my way through this. Before I begin, let me thank everyone for being here today. It means a great deal to our family and to all who love Peter. We're here not just to say goodbye to him, but to remember him, to celebrate his life, and to share the stories, laughter and love that made him who he was. I can still recall that Sunday morning so clearly. I was sitting in my study in Sydney when the phone rang. It was Pete. I assumed he was calling from the airport, getting ready to head off on a planned business trip to New Zealand. But instead he told me he had checked himself into the emergency department at the Mater Hospital in Brisbane. He had been experiencing swelling in his stomach and legs and arms for some time, and I said to him that I'd get on the next plane and fly straight up to see him. I didn't know then that this would be the beginning of Pete's final journey with us, and that over the next month Mike and I would have both the honour and the anguish of sharing this final time with him. He passed away peacefully in the afternoon on June the 20th. Tasha was by his side, and Lisa and I were there holding his hands. He died from complications caused by heart failure brought on by a cruel blood infection that had wreaked havoc in his body. It was devastating, and he's been taken from us far too soon. Pete was our youngest brother, and though he was only 57, he lived a life full of meaning, purpose and accomplishment. In those 57 years, he managed to achieve more than many could in a lifetime twice as long. Let me share some of those with you today. His early years were spent in Zimbabwe, where he began his schooling at Blakiston School in Harare. When the family moved to England in 1973, after a brief stint at Attleborough Primary School, he attended Beeston Hall Junior School in Norfolk, alongside his cousins, James and Chris Harrison. I can remember watching Pete and James play rugby for Beeston as juniors all those years ago. He then went to Gresham School, which he absolutely loved. I remember clearly how disappointed he was when Mum and Dad had to make the difficult decision to move him from Gresham's due to financial pressures. He finished his A-levels at Norwich City College instead. But true to form, Pete didn't let that hold him back. He excelled in his studies, passed his A-levels, and went on to earn a place at the University of Aberdeen. It was around this time that Pete and I went on the first of many memorable trips together. We travelled to the Loire Valley in central France to visit Richard, who was working on a campsite for the summer. That trip was hilarious from the start. We borrowed a tent, the only one we could find, a massive vintage Second World War canvas thing that weighed a ton and leaked like a sieve. We nicknamed it the Big Top, and it stood right in the middle of the campsite, taking up far too much room and drawing all the wrong type of attention. Typical Pete, he had Richard and I up each morning at 6 a.m. for a 5k run, followed by a swim. I can still remember one morning half asleep and complaining, and Pete just turning to me and saying, "Stop whinging, Nigel, and just run." So of course I went on the run and whinged all the way. We had a wonderful time tasting wine, biking around the vineyards, catching rays, Pete's terms for sunbathing, and visiting chateaus. After the Loire Valley, we headed to Paris, largely thanks to my girlfriend at the time, Sue, who decided that Pete and I needed a little bit of cultural enrichment. She had visions of museums, galleries, and soaking up the finer things in life. But Pete and I had other ideas. We spent most of our time trying to outdo each other with our best Clint Eastwood impersonations, whom we both idolised to a ridiculous level, driving everyone within hearing distance absolutely mad. We also had a game we'd play, and we kept it going for years. It was a ridiculous thing where you'd make a circle with your thumb and index finger, and if the other person looked at it, you got a free punch. Well, Pete, if you're looking down on us, I owe you one, mate, and I'll give it to you when I see you next. It was during his time at university in Aberdeen that Pete's academic brilliance really started to emerge. He was awarded a joint MA Honours First Class in Political Studies and International Relations. During those university years, Pete also made several trips to visit Mike, Carol and I whilst we were living in Zimbabwe. Alongside his sharp academic mind, he had also developed a strong passion for physical fitness, something that remained a constant throughout his life. We often trained together either at Ian's gym in Harare or at my house. But running with Pete was simply no longer an option. I just couldn't keep up with him. While in Zimbabwe, I shared some unforgettable experiences with him. We travelled together to the breathtaking Mana pools on the Zambezi River, canoeing with Carol or simply sitting and watching wildlife in the reserve. We also played golf with Mike in the beautiful Eastern Highlands. After one particularly long, hot and tiring round of 18 holes, Mike and I packed up, ready to drive the 15 kilometres back to our cottage. Pete, in his usual understated way, simply said he'd run back, and off he went. We also shared two memorable holidays, family holidays in Scotborough on the south coast of Durban with Mum and Dad, Pete, Richard and Carol, Kathy, Mike and Barb's. Pete was always at his happiest in the sun, and being by the beach with family around him, well, that was just about perfect. Most evenings were spent around the table playing cards, poker where Dad was always the undisputed king, and Black Maria where Carol firmly ruled the roost. Pete never hesitated when it came to family. If you were going through a rough patch, he'd be on the next plane, no questions asked. He was loyal to the core. If Pete was in your corner, you could count on him, always. Family meant everything to him, and he made a real effort to show up for the important moments, whether it was a wedding, an holiday, or just some time together. No matter where he was in the world, he'd find a way to be there, and we're all the richer for it. He loved Mum and Dad dearly. He and Dad shared the same love and passion for politics and transnational security, and so in that sense, they had a unique and special bond. And Mum, he loved you, absolutely adored you, and was always very fiercely protective of you. After Pete completed his degree at Aberdeen, I was living and working in Vancouver, Canada. True to form, Pete said, "I'll come over and see you, Nige." During that visit, he mentioned wanting to check out the University of British Columbia. So one Sunday, we all jumped in the car and went to have a look. He liked what he saw, and that visit ended up shaping his next chapter. He decided to pursue postgraduate studies there, and over the next 4 years, he applied himself with extraordinary dedication, ultimately completing a PhD in political science and international affairs. An incredible achievement and a testimony to his intellect and determination. And we now had a doctor in the family. It was during this time that Pete met Tasha, the love of his life. She was friends with our next door neighbours, and from the moment they met, I had a strong sense that there would only ever be Tash for Pete. I think Pete himself would be the first to admit he wasn't always the easiest person to live with. His days were governed by strict routines that were, for him, non-negotiable. But Tash was his perfect match, with endless patience and understanding. They married in Vancouver, and Mum and Dad, Carol and I, all travelled over to be there for their special day. Throughout his life, there was never anyone else. Pete's heart always belonged to Tash. During this time, Pete also reached his peak as a runner. He completed at least 5 full marathons that I'm aware of, an extraordinary feat, but even more so when you consider that most of these finishes were completed in sub-3-hour times, and at least one of them earned him a bronze medal. His best time was 2 hours 37 minutes, and to put that in some context, the recent Sydney Marathon was won at a record time of 2 hours 6 minutes. Pete's times were certainly up there with professional world-class runners. I remember him telling me after one of these races, a fellow competitor came up to him and asked, "Where's your training team and support team?" Pete just shrugged and said he didn't have a trainer, picked up his running shoes and went home. That was typical Pete. After completing his PhD, Dr. Peter Chalk embarked on what can only be described as an extraordinary career. Since his passing in June, we've been overwhelmed by the many tributes that have come in from around the world, a reflection of the deep impact he had. Kate will share with us some of her professional experiences with Pete today. Pete's professional journey was both global and diverse, but 2 roles in particular defined much of his work. He served as a senior analyst with the RAND Corporation, a non-partisan research organisation based in the US, and later he spent many years teaching at the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California. There he lectured mid-career professionals from military, intelligence and law enforcement communities. His research and writing focused on insurgency, terrorism and transnational criminal networks across various parts of the world. Pete became widely recognised as an expert in Southeast Asian security, particularly through his work on the liberation tigers of Tamil Eelam, Al-Qaeda and the Taliban, and the jihadist movement of Mindanao in the southern part of the Philippines. During his career, he authored and co-authored over 100 publications, including academic books, journal articles and sector analyses. Much of his writing paved the way for a better understanding of violent extremism before the tragic events of 9/11. His knowledge was so vast, he wrote a comprehensive 2-volume encyclopedia of terrorism. In the dedication of that encyclopedia, he wrote, "This book is dedicated to the countless thousands whose lives have been taken or destroyed by the scourge of modern-day terrorism. May we never forget their loss." He believed that meaningful analysis required more than just academic theory. It had to be grounded in real-world experience. This approach was unique, and when he first introduced it, was cutting edge. That approach to his research projects took him to some of the most volatile and dangerous regions in the world, including the Yemen, northern Pakistan, Afghanistan, and parts of South America heavily impacted by the narcotics trade. It was in these challenging environments that Pete combined fieldwork with deep analytical thinking, seeking to understand not just the politics, but the people, the patterns, and the underlying forces at play. As a family, we are incredibly proud of what he achieved, but more importantly, of the integrity and the sense of purpose with which he approached his work. He never sought the spotlight, preferring rather to focus on making a difference. He was always incredibly understated about his work and never boasted or sought recognition. I have no doubt in my mind that through his work, the world is a safer place for all of us. I've never seen Pete so happy as he was in February 2005 when his son Corrie, or Corinth, was born. Becoming a father brought him immense pride and joy. Every phone call we shared over the years would inevitably include a Corrie update, sometimes brief, sometimes detailed, but always said with love and pride. As Corey grew older and became an accomplished guitar player, it gave Pete and me something new to enjoy together. My own son Sean also plays the guitar, and with our shared love of music, our conversations naturally found their way into that space. One of my regrets now, with Pete gone, is that the four of us, Pete, Corey, Sean and I, never managed to sit down together for a proper music session, spinning records from our vinyl collection and just enjoying the moment. It would have meant a lot to all of us. I have Pete to thank for introducing me to some of the classic music over the years, the magic of Royal Party, Johnny Hates Jazz, or the brilliance of the great George Michael's older album, to name just a few. He would put on something new for us to listen to, and when I said, "What is this?" he'd answer, "Don't you know this, Nige?" with some attitude, and then love the fact that he'd got one up on me. So Pete lived by a set of values that shaped everything he did. He was fiercely intelligent and always well informed. You could talk to him about almost anything. Our questions about politics or world events were always answered with a considered, often unique perspective. He had a dry sense of humour, never took himself too seriously, and would often laugh at himself during the many wild and hilarious conversations we shared. One of Pete's most admirable traits was that he was never judgmental and always took people as he found them, on their merit. He was the most disciplined person I have ever known. He never compromised on these core principles, and I believe that grounding was essential, especially given the chaotic and dangerous places he often visited through his work. He was loyal to a fault, and if he gave you his trust, you had it fully. Pete touched countless lives through his work, humour, loyalty and kindness. His loss leaves a void that cannot be filled. His legacy, both personal and professional, will endure for all of us who knew him and admired him, and others that will never know that through his work he kept them safe. For me, life will never be the same. I will miss him every day. I'll miss those I'll miss those lazy afternoons on the veranda at my home in Sydney that stretched late into the night as we talked about everything and anything. Music was always played and we'd take turns picking the next song. Lisa, Pete and I would enter into deep and meaningful conversation while we ate, laughed and simply enjoyed being together. He was my brother, my friend, and one of the most quietly remarkable people I've ever known. I genuinely believe the world feels just a little less safe without him in it doing what he did. I feel incredibly lucky to have had Pete as my brother, and I will carry him with me always. And so I'll end with Tasha's words. Let's all honour Pete, lacing up our running shoes, toasting with a gin and tonic, or pausing to marvel at the sunset. Rest in peace, my brother. We love you, and we will never forget you. Thank you.
Peter and I met the summer I was 21, and we were married 18 months later. After 12 years of cities, countries, continents, adventures, we welcomed our son, Corinth, into the world. At this point, on a whim, we settled in a suburb of Phoenix, Arizona, and began a new chapter for both of us. Peter spent 20 years living in Arizona, the longest he lived in any one place his whole life. When Peter wasn't away, dressed in a suit and tie for business, he worked from home casually in t-shirts and shorts. He was there as Corey left for school in the morning, and there again when he got off the school bus at the end of the day. Corinth, like the neighbors, had no idea of what Pete really did for a living. Of course, we know when traveling, Pete did primary source research. He conducted interviews, he taught at different institutions, spoke at conferences, but at home, as far as Corey could tell, his dad answered emails. Prior to any upcoming presentation or lecture, Pete would rehearse aloud, a task he routinely scheduled towards the end of his workday. While I was preparing dinner and Corey was playing in the house, Pete could be heard from his home office revising his upcoming presentation. One day, after listening to him for some time, Corinth looked up at his father and asked, "Dad, is being an arms dealer a good job?" Once we had settled, my parents purchased a home in Arizona to escape the Canadian winters and to spend time with us. Peter and my dad got along well. They shared an interest in politics and world affairs, and my dad admired Pete greatly. Pete also had a connection with my mom, who appreciated Pete's broad-minded global outlook and the perfect cups of tea that he would make her. These special relationships extended to my whole family, both of my sisters, Kirsten and Ashley, our nephews, Mason and Emmett. He had a true relationship with our brother-in-law, Fred, or as they would refer to each other, Sonny B and Pops. Sorry. We spent many Christmases, summer holidays, and family events in Canada with my family. Pete taught me Pete taught me so much about the world and provided more opportunities than I could ever have imagined. We attended embassy dinners in Washington and ate soggy sandwiches sitting on the street corner in Mexico. We hiked the Grand Canyon and rappelled down waterfalls in Costa Rica. We watched giraffes appear over the horizon at sunrise in Kenya. We drove through a snowstorm to arrive in Canada in time for Christmas and camped on the beach in Australia. We ate roasted chestnuts on a December evening in London. We even attended the Captain Phillips movie premiere in Hollywood because, of course, Pete had been a consultant on the movie's subject matter. I feel privileged and will forever be grateful for the life Peter and I shared together. And I am especially thankful for our son. Corinth is not here today, but I want you to know that he reflects so much of his father, intelligent, understated, and deeply thoughtful. Peter had a love for fancy fountain pens, constantly evolving watch collection. There were many sports cars over the years, and a sound system that would shake the house. But ultimately, Pete was most happy living simply at home. He spent many Saturdays at the movies with Corinth, and afternoons soaking up the Arizona sun. Family dinners were an anchor for us, and as Corinth grew older, he often lingered long after the plates were cleared, carrying on conversations with his dad. Their talks ranged from current events and politics to humanitarian issues, quantum physics, the afterlife, and superheroes. Music, too, was a frequent point of discussion, with Corey sometimes challenging his dad's musical taste. He remembers with embarrassment a time when Peter's ringtone blasted the song Confident by Demi Lovato. But as Corey grew into his own as a musician, and we all explored different bands and types of music, the three of us found common ground in Pink Floyd. It will forever be our family soundtrack. At family gatherings, my mother remarked many times over the years how much all of our lives had been enriched because Peter joined our family, and enriched in a way only a man as unique as Peter could do. His absence leaves a great void. But I know his love, his wisdom, his memory, and his humor will live on through us. Love you, Petey.
Thank you so much, Tasha and Nigel, for those wonderful words. We've just heard about Pink Floyd there, and we're going to have a few moments now to reflect on all we've heard and to bring to mind our own memories of Pete as we hear Pink Floyd and as we see a visual tribute on the screen just behind me.
So you think you can tell heaven from hell, blue skies from pain? Can you tell a green field from a cold steel rail, a smile from a veil? Do you think you can tell? Did they get you to trade your heroes for ghosts, hot ashes for trees, hot air for a cool breeze, cold comfort for change? Did you exchange
Lots of you smiling there at some of those photos. So we're going to have some more tributes now as Jeff and then Kate come up here and share some of their memories of Pete.
Goodness me, follow that. I'm going to talk about Pete's early years in Norfolk is going to be my focus. Peter Andrew James Chalk, that's a lot of disciples in a name for a man who, with huge respect to the house we're in, wasn't actually very religious. I first met Pete in early September 1975. The memory's very sharp for me. I was 8, Pete was 7. It was our first day as boarders at Beeston Hall School just down the road. At the time, Beeston was run by a wartime naval commander as headmaster and a wartime wing commander as deputy. It was a terrifying prospect for young lads. From the first moment we hit it off, he was great fun, brave and loyal to his friends from the start. Believe me, it was a tough environment. Ice on the inside of the windows in winter, corporal punishment for very minor infractions. Boy, go and fetch your gym shoe was a dreaded sentence in those days. It was completely unpredictable and really very stressful. But it was also the most amazing of times, due in no small part to Pete. It's definitely the case that provided you're with people you like and respect, the immediate environment diminishes in importance. We would go on dares after lights out together, jump out of the window, run round the main school building, past the headmaster's study with the light on, and back to bed. Total terror, pure exhilaration. At Beeston, Pete met people who became friends for life. My brother Rob joined us in 1977. Pete's cousin Jamie was there. Johnny Norman and Ian Boswell. In adult life, when Pete's travels brought him to the UK, he would always want to meet up with his friends from Beeston and Gresham's, and it's lovely to see Nigel and Adam here today. Incredibly strong bonds were formed. To us, Pete seemed so sophisticated. The amazing accent, which he never lost. As a young lad, he knew bands we'd never heard of. We've just been listening to Pink Floyd, but the Moody Blues, Dire Straits, all of these are still in my playlists. Of course, he knew about these things due to having older siblings. He was a massive Clint Eastwood fan as a kid. I think this stayed with him his whole life. He introduced us to the magic of The Man with No Name, Dirty Harry and Philo Beddoe and the Black Widows motorcycle gang. He had Clint posters all over his bedroom wall. In around 1978, Brian and Anne moved the family home from Attleborough to Cromer, right round the corner from the Webster abode. Pete became a constant at school and in the holidays. For Rob and me, he was like another brother, right between us in age. In the holidays, as we became teenagers, Rob and I would typically lie in bed for as long as possible, like every teenager, pretty much every teenager, in the mornings. In the end, Mum would either send the dog or Pete upstairs to get us moving, sometimes both. We all moved from Beeston to Gresham's between 1980 and 1982, and the dreaded school run came into being. Either our dad, Tony, Brian Chalk, or Bill Norman would take it in turns to drop off and pick up at Gresham's. Rob, Pete, Johnny and Emma Norman and I were crammed into one car or another depending on who the driver was. This could be a dramatic experience. Woe betide anyone that was late or didn't say thank you for the ride. Pete was phlegmatic. He bore all with equanimity. He was always a calm and thoughtful person. He was straight as a die. In his early teens, I think it was his early teens, he started to get seriously into fitness and running. It was truly awful to go on a run with Pete. After 4 miles, you arrived at 250-step cliffs at Happy Valley in Cromer. Pete would run up and down the cliffs 4 or 5 times, whilst I certainly lay down at the cliff top trying to get my heart rate down to 250. I didn't do this very often. For sixth form, Pete went to Norwich City College, as Nigel mentioned. He was also a very keen member of the Territorial Army when he was younger, and he got a lot of pleasure from participating in all of the travel and the events that came from that. From there, also, as Nigel said, to Aberdeen and his remarkable career in academia and global security. Pete was my oldest friend. Wherever we were in the world, we kept in touch. Lottie and I were so fortunate to overlap with Pete and Tasha in Washington, D.C. for a year or two around the millennium. It was wonderful to actually be in the same place for a while. For Rob, Philip and me, Pete was another brother. I think he told me this himself, he saw our mum and dad in some ways as second parents. His childhood qualities of kindness, loyalty, humour, respect, sheer bloody-minded determination and the strong sense of right and wrong never left him. For someone who wasn't religious, there was a strong sense of Old Testament in Pete. It was a real honour for Lottie and me to be with Tash and Kirsten and so many of Pete's family at the end in Brisbane in June. He went too early. Tomorrow he would have been 58. He is missed. Rest in peace, Pete.
Pete and I played together as children when our families were still living in Harare, Zimbabwe. I seem to recall that the Chalks were prodigious collectors of things. I remember Richard's insanely large collection of corporate stickers, Auntie Anne's beautiful spaniels, Uncle Brian's stamp collection, and Nige and Mike's entrepreneurial business collecting bottles for pocket money after rugby and cricket matches. Carol was another sister to us who made us laugh a lot with her collection of jokes. My enduring memory of Pete from this time is of an intrepid 2 or 3-year-old, probably 4-year-old, in his cowboy suit with 2 plastic guns at the ready. I think he lived in this outfit, racing around our garden at Holt, chasing invisible baddies who he would apprehend and punish. These pursuits were short-lived as they moved overseas soon after in 1973. I did reconnect again when I visited the Chalks in Cromer during my prac year in '86. Pete was still at high school and Carol had just moved to the UK. Years later, in 2003, Pete and Tash looked us up in Brisbane. We had lunch at our home together. Otto was a toddler. Corey was not yet born. They reminisced happily about their time living in Brisbane, how cold the winters really were, and his daily runs up and down Mount Cootha before work, and it's a long way, and his academic job at the University of Queensland, where he spent 4 years before deciding that life inside an ivory tower was not for him. What followed was his hectic position at Rand Corporation, divided between Los Angeles and the world. On this particular visit to Brisbane, Pete had been invited to give a guest lecture to his old school of political science and international studies at UQ. He suggested I come along to hear what he had to say, as it was far too involved for barbecue chats. I was definitely intrigued to know what research entailed. The Holt girls had grown up with a perennial question, I wonder what Uncle Brian does for a living. We never knew, but we speculated wildly. Pete was introduced by the head of school to a packed lecture theatre. He began by agreeing Chatham House rules with staff and students. He outlined 4 to 5 topics that he had been researching recently for RAND. He scarcely drew breath in 2 hours, speaking with authority, without notes or illustrations. As an architect, this was unheard of, impossible even. I'd only bought a tiny notebook, thinking I would have no need to take any notes. Big mistake. I learnt more about the world we live in that day. The scope of the topics was impressive. His projects range from procuring illegal passports in Thailand of any nationality to drug smuggling, largely opium, and gun running across the Cambodian and Myanmar borders, and also food security in the US. Lastly, he dealt with his speciality, piracy in Southeast Asia and the east coast of Africa. I was astounded at the different modes of contemporary piracy that I'd never even considered before, from cruise ships apprehended out at sea to oil tankers commandeered to occupy ports and purloin freight, and even nimble watercraft capable of rapid deployment. While I've not been able to locate those notes, my memory of that event and Pete's wide-ranging expertise and lived experience is still vivid. It remains one of the most impactful lectures I've ever heard. There were many questions from the staff and students, which Pete generously answered. I can't remember how many, nor what they were, but I do recall some of the faces in the audience, incredulous and in awe in equal measure. The current head of school, Professor Kate Coolin, who assisted the family in packing up his office and winding up his affairs at UQ, was actually taught by Pete, and she was most likely in the audience that day. When she advised the school of Pete's tragic passing in June this year, she wrote of the passion and enthusiasm he brought to the classroom, something she said he never lost. Based on his deep knowledge about the threats that cities face from terrorism, in 2004, I invited Pete to join our international research team from UQ and Columbia University, New York. We were examining best practice development in and around railway corridors, the Emerging Urban Futures project. The 2004 bombings of commuter trains in Madrid and the 2005 suicide strikes on the Underground and buses in London occurred shortly after this, highlighting the vulnerability of mass transit and making Pete's work invaluable. Committed to understanding the causes of things, Pete's research on the ground taught us how to make public spaces safer while increasing accessibility, mobility, and density in and around railway infrastructure. A few hours, he was to be a keynote speaker at a high-profile transport conference in Durban. Just a few hours before he was due to speak, he was forced to withdraw after receiving death threats from the Tamil Tigers. 2 decades on, his research remains particularly pertinent to Australia as the 2032 Olympic Games loom. His wide-ranging expertise and generosity in sharing this knowledge will be sorely missed. What was remarkable about Pete's research was his work in the field, gathering data directly from the source, in person and undercover. It was dangerous work with no backup from any legal entity or military organisation. Each project for RAND Centre had a tight time frame, a strict budget, and involved travel all over the world. Pete had to compete for funding for each of these projects. Once his fieldwork and interviews were finished, he then had the complex task of sifting through the data, adding further research such as historical documents, contextual policies, legislation, before writing it up and publishing the report. I counted 67 reports that he either authored or co-authored during his time there. This work came at a high cost to his health and to the long months he spent away from his beloved family. His many collaborators agree. Pete the professional was a trusted colleague that everyone respected. Accolades included brilliant, meticulous, thorough, at the same time generous, understated, humble, accessible, and a great listener. To us Holts, he was our lovely cousin, your brother, a father and a son, our very own James Bond.
Thank you so much, Kate and Jeff, for those reflections. We're going to hear a couple of poems now and a few words around those from Michael and Richard.
As we've heard today, one of Pete's passions was running, and was something that he was very good at, so I often did not get included. The poem I'm going to read is called The Runner, written by Abel Keogh in 2023. Amidst the clamour and the fray, the runner emerges to start his day. For in the act of running, he does find a respite from life and peace of mind. His face to the wind, his back to the sun, he presses forward, his journey begun. Heart and lungs find their steady pace, and worries fade as he starts the race. With a rhythm to follow, a beat to keep, his breathing is steady, his stride so steep. Each step a note, music and flight, rhythm and motion, a glorious sight. For the runner knows with every mile there's a sense of self, a sense to smile. A discipline, a purpose, a journey to pursue, a life moving forward, a dream come true. And those words so typically portray Pete.
Pete's favourite place in Zimbabwe was Victoria Falls, and that's where he wants his ashes scattered. So it seemed appropriate to choose a poem about Victoria Falls for this service. And I chose one by Muriel Spark, who is better known as the author of The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie. But less well known was the fact that she spent her early married life in southern Rhodesia, what is now in Zimbabwe. And Victoria Falls, like Peter, was also her favourite place. So hushed, so hot, the broad Zambezi lies above the falls, and on her weedy aisles swing antic monkeys, swarm malignant flies, and seeming lazy lurk long crocodiles. But somewhere down the river does the hush become a sibilance that hints a sigh, a murmur mounting as the currents rush faster. And while the murmur is a cry, the cry becomes a shout, the shout a thunder, until the whole Zambezi waters pour into the earth's side, agitating under infinite spray mists, pounding the world's floor. Wrapped in this liquid turmoil, who can say which is the mighty echo, which the spray? And before we move to the closing part of the service, I would just like to read a few words that were sent in yesterday by Pete's ex-sister-in-law, Sue, who was unable to be here today. I have many fond memories of Pete, starting from his early high school years, picking him up from Gresham's, chatting to him and his friends in the car, and then all going to the movies for a treat. This was invariably a Clint Eastwood film. Nigel and he would whisper every line of every classic Clint speech under their breath, complete with screwed-up eyes and Clint grimaces. It was more entertaining than the movie itself. Once Nigel and I were married, Palatable Pete, which was a nickname given to him by one of my friends who took a shine to him, would arrive on our doorstep with his kit bag over his shoulder and a breathtakingly handsome grin on his face. He would then share that he'd be staying for a while to catch some rays, a phrase we've already heard, and catch them he did. Smothered in olivine, a Zimbabwe brand of olive oil, he would lay back in a deck chair, shades on and music pumping. The location progressed to the kids' trampoline as time went on, much to their delight. We moved around a bit in those days, but Pete became our most faithful visitor. He stayed in our 2 houses in Zimbabwe, 2 in the UK, 1 in Canada, most importantly where he met his beloved Tasha, 1 in Adelaide and 2 in Sydney. Pete had such a gentle soul and was wonderful to talk to. Although I understood virtually nothing of the political world in which he moved and wrote about, he was quite prepared to painstakingly explain to me who was who and on what side and what the key issues were. No question was ever considered too ignorant and therefore unworthy of an answer, though I have to say there were occasions when we fell about laughing at my misconceptions and confusion. Sean and Emma were also shown equal respect, and I remember with amusement on occasions him discussing the life of a preschooler with his godson, Sean. They also too practiced Clint faces. My heart is heavy as I write these few words. I will always remember our dearest Pete with great fondness and admiration. Such a great loss to so many, and for so many different reasons. All my love to Tasha and Corey, family and friends, Sue.
Thank you very much, Richard and Michael, and thank you to everyone who shared a poem or a thought or memories today. I'm sure we could all imagine how incredibly difficult this is, and maybe it's appropriate just to offer them all a little round of applause just to say thank you for all of their thoughts, and thank you very much. So can I please invite you all to stand as we commend Peter into the eternal rest and peace of God.